Humankind is facing a great struggle. An increasing number of natural disasters threatens the way that we live. Already 80% of all people can feel how climate change influences the way of their life. We expect an infrastructure which is working and operating even under extreme circumstances. We expect infrastructure and buildings that offer protection. And we expect that we can simply stay safe. Climate change urges us to rethink the way that we build. We can do something, and we need to do something. We invite you to develop the infrastructure of tomorrow. We need buildings and infrastructure which are smart, sustainable, and resilient. And so we need experts who are able to design buildings just like that. Our master program, Resilient Civil Engineering, trains you just that. You learn how to design in a better way. Let's start today. Come to RWTH Aachen University.
And now we are here at the RWTH International Academy, live from our film studios. Welcome to this program introduction for the Resilient Civil Engineering Master's Degree Program. My name is Nadine and I'm the Application and Admission Manager of the Intake Department. And joining me here today is Joshua, the Academic Advisor of the program. And we have also invited two senior students, Sebastian and Burak. Let's start with you guys. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello guys, how are you? Thank you for coming. I am Sebastián Novoa. I come from Ecuador. I studied civil engineering in my bachelor's degree. And basically I chose this program because of the current and relevant topics that it focuses on, such as sustainability, resilience, and its strong emphasis on structural engineering. Beside also the university, which is a really recognized and top-ranked university worldwide. So those were the main facts.
Hello everyone, I am Mehmet Burak Çakır, and likewise like Sebastian, I came for the Resilient Civil Engineering program. We were the first batch and we started on September 2024. I am from Turkey and I finished my bachelor's degree in Turkey and then worked like around 5 years in the professional industry. Then I just want to have a leap in my career and I chose Germany for that. And especially for the new type of infrastructure design in a resilience perspective, in a country like Germany. And that's why we selected it. And we will be available for your questions later. So thank you.
Exactly. And Joshua, what about you?
Yes, thank you, Nadine, for this nice introduction. And thank you, Sebastian and Burak, for joining us today. Yes, my name, as Nadine already said, is Joshua Sevindik. I have also studied civil engineering at the RWTH Aachen, and right now I'm a research associate at the chair of structure analysis and dynamics. But today I'm here as your maybe future academic advisor and want to talk with you about the master program Resilient Civil Engineering.
Exactly. And as we already mentioned, our two students and of course Joshua will be available for a Q&A session at the end of the program introduction presentation. So stay tuned and maybe already think about some questions you have in mind regarding the program. But for now, we're going to start the program academic introduction. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. What we see here is the agenda for today. As you can see, first we want to start with an introduction, but this is more an introduction of the chair, which I'm currently working at, because the chair of structure analysis and dynamics is one of the big three institutions behind the Resilient Civil Engineering program. Then after it, I would like to talk about the program in more detail. And after this, about what are your career perspectives after graduation in the project or in the master program. And at the end, as Nadine already told you, We have a Q&A session where you can ask me, Nadine, and our both two senior students any questions that are open. And we hope that we can help you. So at the beginning, the chair of structure analysis and dynamics is built upon a team of around 35 people. So we have like 15 research associates and around 10 student associates. Maybe the role of a student associate firstly is more interesting for you. So the student associates are helping us in our research topics and also do some teaching work. For example, in the bachelor courses, we have some additional exercises where they teach, or in the exam periods, there are usually some consultational hours where they help us. So then we have teaching. As the name of our chair already mentioned, we are teaching in structure analysis and dynamics. And what maybe not everybody is thinking about, the points where we want to calculate structures is normally we use there some numerical methods. So because of that, we also teach in numerical methods because this is the fundament of the softwares we are using later on in work. In the bachelor's, we are here more concentrating on the fundamentals of this finite element methods or numerical methods, and also on the fundamentals of structure analysis and dynamics. And in the master's, then we have more advanced topics like more nonlinear calculations, for example, or more complex structures like shells and plates, for example. And also the dynamic team is a little bit more difficult, I would say. Our research is also directly related to these topics. So I would say in general, our chair is more split up into two parts. So we have one part which is more concentrating on the structure analysis part. Here we're doing a lot of research about numerical methods, where I mean like finite element methods or isogeometric analysis, for example. And then we have the other part, the dynamic part, where we are doing some research about dampers, for example. And we are looking how we can improve these dampers or how can we use them in a better way in structures. So now I wanted to start talking about the program. Here we can see on this nice slide a short overview about the master program. And also maybe we can first talk about what is behind. So behind the program are three big institutions. There's on one side the already mentioned Chair of Structure Analysis and Dynamics from the Faculty of Civil Engineering. And then there's from the Faculty of Architecture, there's the Academic and Research Department for Building, Design and Realization. And lastly, there's also the Center for Wind and Earthquake Engineering. But what can we see in this graphic? So we can see here that the SCE, or which part the SCE is built on. So firstly, we can see the compulsory courses, which are the modules we have to take during the program. Then in the middle, we can see the language course. Here you can take whatever language you want to, but it is highly recommended to take a German language course because you want to live here and to study, and maybe you want to stay here after the program. And for this to better integrate you inside of Germany, it's obvious then that it's good to learn German. So, and then what we can see next to this language course circle is the elective project. So we have two elective projects which are more practical orientated, but I think we can talk about this later on a little bit more. And then lastly, of course, your master thesis. So before we're going to get more in detail into the program, we maybe can first talk about the motivation behind it, or the motivation in general, why to take this program. So the first point is the digitalization. In general, I think it's hardly to implement the digitalization in civil engineering because we have a lot of unique processes, but there are some processes which we can automatize or which we can optimize in general. For example, the combination with each other in softwares. And at this point, the building information modeling takes this point. Or some other points are 3D printing. Maybe we can 3D print some concrete structures directly and don't have to build them by hand. And the last point is, for example, robotic, which will also take place in civil engineering in the future. And these topics are also part of the Resilient Civil Engineering project. So then the second point is the urbanization. So urbanization is directly related to society. And maybe we can make some German example. In Germany, the population is aging and growing. So we have to think about how can we build our infrastructures and the urbanization to get them a safety way to live, for example. And then lastly, the big question of our time, sustainability. So here we can make, again, an example. And when we think about concrete, then we maybe knew that concrete is the second most used material after water in the world. And also it is related to 10% of the carbon dioxide emission worldwide. And I mean, 10% is a big number. So maybe we can think about using other materials, or we can think about reducing the usage of concrete. And at this point, for example, there is some research going on, or it is also right now used in the world. For example, carbon fiber reinforcement rather than steel reinforcement, because carbon fiber cannot corrodate. So we don't need this amount of thickness above or under the reinforcement. And because of this, we can build slimmer and thinner structures. Then now, after talking about the motivation behind this, we go more into detail in the program concept. So here in this graphic, you can see that we have like 6 points. From these 6 points are 5 points, the unique study topics, which are behind the topic. So we can see the loading safety, the materials, and the mechanics, which are more civil engineering related modules or topics. And then we have the sustainability and the planning, which is more architecture related. And then the last point is the project work, which is again the elective project where you can choose between 2 practical projects. But I don't want to say a lot about this. Later we talk about in more detail about these 5 points. But now I want to talk about a little bit more about the program itself and what is going on in each semester when you are studying here and what you are learning each semester. So you can see here that in the first semester, there are only compulsory courses. So first you can start your new life in Germany, come here and have more or less new only compulsory courses. And then in the second and third semester, there is the elective project. So here in the elective project, you can choose between the design process of building construction, part 1 and 2, of course, or the FE application in the construction practice. One of these projects is there, as the name already mentioned, more related to the processes, and the other FE application means finite element applications. So here we want to use finite element softwares for problems that could occur in real life, or for structures that are there in real life. But the projects are from year to year a little bit different. So there are always a little bit different structures which you have to calculate. And then, of course, we can see in the second and third semester, we have the language course. Again, here, you can choose what you want, but German is, we would say German is the best option, maybe. And then in the last semester, we have the master thesis. So for the master thesis, you can more or less choose the team that you want, but you have to find some supervisor. So here, maybe in the first 3 semesters, you have learned something in some topic that you are more interested in and you want to do some research in. So now you can go to a teacher and ask them, can I write a master thesis or can you supervise my master thesis? But maybe there's no topic, then you can also go on the websites of the chairs or to the floors of the chairs. I think on most of the websites or at most of the floors, there is like a blackboard where also some master topics. But you can also ask me about this in the Q&A session later on if you have some questions about it. And yes, but now we can talk about a little bit more about these 5 points and why they are so important. So here again, we can see the more civil and the more architecture related modules. And maybe we can first start to think about a civil engineer. A civil engineer more or less thinks about how can we build a safety structure and don't think maybe more in an isolated way. So what do we have to consider? So we have different loading scenarios, and we want to calculate this loading scenarios so that our structure will be safety. But what should we use for the calculations? So I would say our weapon for the calculations is the mechanics. So we use the mechanics to calculate our structures that they are safety. But what do we have to consider? Of course, the materials. So here, for example, some materials have other benefits. So concrete has a high compressive strength, but the low tangential strength. And this we have to consider when we build our structures. And now we have to think more about the overall context where our structure later is in. And then, of course, there is the planning. So we should plan our structures in a way that it fits in the overall context and maybe that it fits better inside of it. And then lastly, of course, we have to build our structures that there are sustainability. Sustainability is good because, it's the big problem of our time. So we have to fulfill it and it's better for us all. Then lastly, we come to our career perspective. So here the first point, of course, construction companies, we are civil engineers. So maybe the first thing what comes into your mind are construction companies, but there are a lot of other points where you can work. For example, transport companies. So here you can think about the infrastructure, the streets or bridges that has to be built. Then we have the third point, trade association, authorities and public institution. Maybe this is one point which you not directly think about, but you can more think about the requirements that we have to fulfill are coming from this side. And here you can work more or less as a bridge between techniques and the society. And then the fourth point, civil protection agency. Here, for example, due to the global warming, we have more environmental disasters. And to protect our civilization better, you can maybe take part in one of these companies. And lastly, the energy and utility companies. So here, when we maybe think about renewable energies, then we think about wind turbines. And when we think about wind turbines as a structure, then it is more or less like a cantilever beam with a big mass on top. And this big mass yields a big oscillation, of course, for some loads. And because of that, we have to think about these wind turbines and have to improve their safety. I think, as you can see, you have a lot of options to work after the program, and you gain a lot of knowledge due to this interdisciplinary thing. So because of multiple companies or multiple institutions are behind this, you gain a lot of knowledge. But I would say that was it from my side. I hope everything is clear and you are not too overwhelmed. When there are any questions, you can ask later in the Q&A session. And now I want to give it back to my colleague, Nadine.
Great. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for this overview presentation about the resilient civil engineering. And to round this program introduction up, I just want to give you the key facts about the master's degree program once again. So obviously you are studying at RWTH Aachen University. So you will be graduating with a official master's degree issued by the RWTH Aachen University. Our resilient civil engineering master's degree has a study duration of 2 years or 4 semesters and is purely taught in English. All the materials are in English. The taught conducting language is English, and our program is fee-based, in total 24,000 euros payable in 4 installments. All right. Good. So now we are open for the Q&A session. Okay. So I hope you have thought about some interesting questions to address to our senior students or Joshua, our academic advisor. If you have questions, please do write them in the chat only. Okay, I'm going to read them out loud, and any of our 3 guests here will respond. Okay, let me check. That's still the one I have. Okay, right. Yeah, then let me ask the question straight away to our students here maybe. What do you think were the most challenging experiences you had in your first semester here in Germany? Both study-wise or living in Germany in a new country?
Well, I would say that at least in my case, for my first semester, the most challenging thing was learning how to cope with the pressure during the exam periods, because I come from a background in which maybe the exam at the end of the semester is not the fully grade of the semester of the subject, but here this is the case for most of the subjects. So you will have a lot of content to learn that goes throughout all the semester. And basically, that will be the full grade. And knowing how to deal with the pressure of the exam, which will last around 1.5 hours, and knowing that in most of the cases you will not even be able to finish the exam, is quite challenging, I would say. That was in my case, I would say.
Okay. What about you, Burak?
I think one of the biggest challenges, let's say in educational wise, at least in Turkey, and also I think in American system as well, the main idea is have a very hard thesis question, in the exam, in a final exam, let's say, and you are given like 3.5 hours. Sometimes one of our exams really was lasting like 3 hours. The questions were really hard. But you know that you have the time and you need to figure out in these 3 hours. But I think in Germany it's a little bit different. It is based on the idea of unit time, how much time you consume, just to make a solution for any kind of problem. So that's why I think I had quite a hard time especially for structural dynamics and timber structures, because the questions were totally manageable, but you need to make sometimes strategic decisions, in this time frame. So I think it can be just a recommendation for you, like in your first semester, hopefully, if you want to join us. And you need to be aware of that. And I think in general wise, in a social wise, in the first semester, it is not very easy to get used to Germany, I would say, because if you don't know German, you need to understand that you are coming to a different country. There will be different regulations and everything. And in most cases, you will find yourself to research about it online and try to figure it out. And you will try to understand how to be self-sustainable. But at the end of the day, I think if you successfully manage, then you will thrive, because then you finally feel like you can manage anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, great advices so far. Okay. But you guys in the audience, please use your chance here today and ask questions you always wanted to know about our program. Okay, only here. And today you have the chance to really talk to experts directly. Don't be shy. Okay. No? All right. Then I just pop another question. I think Burak already answered some of it, but yeah, what do you think? Are there particular easy or difficult lectures in the program?
Personally, I will say that the most difficult lectures in my case will be structural dynamics, which we have in the first semester, and then in the second one, structural analysis and computational methods, because there is a lot of content you need to cover. Each class you go through, let's say, 50 slides roughly. So as you go through the semester, you will get more and more slides, more content, and you just need to keep up to date with all of them. Otherwise, you will just suffer at the end of the semester with the huge amount of information that you have to learn. Plus, you have lecture and you have exercises. So there's a lot of things you need to keep up with. And those, I will say, that are the most difficult in my case.
Are there any easy lectures?
Yeah, I mean, not easy to say, but I will say the ones related to sustainability are more related to something an idea that you come up with, not necessarily some kind of calculation that you might need to do in comparison to the other subjects, such as structural dynamics and structural analysis. But in these other subjects, it's more about letting your ideas, your imagination flow, and somehow build up on resilient and sustainable concepts, which is more towards the architectural field, I would say. So those ones I will consider are easier than the other ones.
Anything you want to add, Burak?
I think I mostly agree with Sebastian, but in my opinion, I was thinking exactly like Sebastian that structural dynamics was really hard. But then I think right now, from my perspective in the last semester, for example, structural analysis methods were much more harder, but we still managed to do good actually. But I think what I realized in first semester, you exactly don't know what you expect, as a exam culture, what is the expected grade, and I think that's the biggest dilemma, let's say, in your system. But then after first semester, if you can manage, I think everything goes much more better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually the experience all our students from the different programs have, that the first semester is really there to settle in, get used to the new country, to the new academic environment. And that's why we also, by the way, recommend to not take a student job already in the first semester, because you will need time in that first few months to adapt to your whole new life, really. Okay, there is a question from Kudus. My question is on the master thesis. You mentioned if you don't have a topic idea, where can we get topics from?
Okay,
Joshua.
I would answer this one. You can get the topics from the blackboard. So I mean, each chair has a floor in the civil engineering building or somewhere else, and there is some blackboard or some wall where letters are. Where you can see some letters where the tasks are written, and then you can directly go to the research assistant. But this is only one option. Another option is, for example, you go to the website, and I think most of the topics are also there. You can also find them directly on the website, and then you can write an email to the research associate who wants to supervise this topic. And yes, you can ask them. But the last option, I think, is that you think, okay, you have some very nice teacher and you want to write by them your master thesis, then you can directly go to the teacher and ask them, can I write my master thesis by you? Can you supervise me? Do you have some topics? And sometimes it's always the case that they also have some topics who are not on the website or on the blackboards, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Another question. How easy is it to adapt to the program? That's a wide question. I don't know who wants to answer.
You can go ahead first.
Yes. Okay. I will say that for the first semester, I was quite struggling at the beginning because we had timber structures, structural dynamics, and transport engineering, which I think are the three subjects also beside mechanic of materials. Therefore, 4 subjects which cover a lot of content. And I was not used to have a lot of information at the same time. So I was really kind of overwhelmed because of all the information that I had to study week by week in each of these subjects, because I already heard that, as I previously mentioned, most of the subjects have the final grade based only on just one exam. So I was kind of feeling overwhelmed, and I had to study week by week and not just letting everything to wait until the end to study. Otherwise, I would have been really, really worried, I think, at the end. So that was basically quite hard at the beginning to adapt to these things and know that we have a lot of information, content to keep up to date every week and not just leaving everything to the end of the semester.
It's all about time management, right?
Yes, but then you just get used to it, I think. And personally, I would say that the first semester, maybe it's because that reason, it was the hardest semester for me. I don't know, what about Burak? What do you think about it?
I think I mostly agree with Sebastian. But how to say? For the question, I mean, how easy is to adapt to the program? I mean, if I would be applicant right now again, and if I see the curriculum, right, as Mr. Joshua showed you, for example, for structural dynamics, yes, you can't. In my opinion, you can't directly create an analogy for that. But you cannot directly understand what kind of experience it is from outside. But I can give a suggestion. The first semester is the most crucial one, obviously. And to be able to cope with that, you have to be quite disciplined. Even if you don't do a weekly recap at the end of each week, you have to do at least every 2 weeks. Because at the end, your semester ends, and you will probably have additional 1 week or 2 week because some exams are directly after the semester, after the lecture period, when the lectures ended, then the exam period starts. So at that time, you should be able to do only the practice part, because otherwise it will be very overwhelming and you can't really show your potential, what you can do. And to be able to succeed in the first semester, considering I think that's the main idea of the question, to be adaptable, I would say you should be able to review the differential equations from your bachelor's, because especially for structural dynamics, a lot of math is involved in it. And also you will need in the second semester for structural control and analysis. And it is like a toolkit. Let's say you are a plumber, right? You don't want to go to a house to fix the pipe without a pipe, right? So that's the analogy I always think. So math is like your toolbox, let's say. In physics as well, obviously, but I think at some point it's very basic physics, you may need in most cases. And when you need advanced, you can check it out. But I think mathematics is still the key, in my opinion, and especially applied mathematics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good advice, Burak. And the next question goes in this direction as well. My question again is, what advice will you give prospective students on how to study or prepare for the hard courses you mentioned, such as structural dynamics?
Well, I will say, as I already said before, just keep up to date with all the content that you have. Well, also, you will see at the end of the semester, when the exam period comes, that the whole university will be studying in the libraries and the different study centers, like lab rats 24/7, actually. But it's better just to keep up to date week by week, because if you are not clear with the concepts that you saw one class and you just go into the next one, you will be kind of quite lost if you didn't get the point, at least, of the previous class. So to keep up to date with the classes, with the information, the content, is a really good idea, because in that way you will be able to progress and to understand at least the key ideas from the next class. And then afterwards go with your notes and yourself, start preparing yourself in your house or wherever you study. But at least you are not fully lost from the beginning, and you don't need to start from scratch, but you have at least some basis, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Joshua, do you have any advice on that obviously tough topic?
I think, he already said the most things. I mean, I think there are also some old exams which are very important. So to study the old exams, you can check them. And at this point, it's more like some students are trying to solve the answers without knowing what they are doing. They're just looking at the question and just looking what is going on in the other old exam and try to fix it. But this might be a big problem, because at this point, then you later on don't understand what's going on. And when you're in the exam and there are some different questions or a little bit different question, then you can solve this question. Mm-hmm. So I would highly recommend to try to understand the topics and don't try to just solve them. So maybe this would be my only additional advice. Yes.
Yeah, so. Good advice, definitely. Yeah, very good. Any more questions? Yeah, no worries. If it's not about the program, we can also talk about student life in Aachen in general. I don't know. Maybe you two want to briefly share your experience about general campus life?
Mm,
There's a question. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good one. How many students are in the class?
well,
Yeah. It's a new course, right? It's a
yeah.
entirely
You
new
can go with
course.
this one.
We have 13,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, 12, 13.
Yeah, we are 13.
Yeah.
And some of them sometimes show up, sometimes not. That's a traditional student behavior. I think everyone.
Yeah, it's a very exclusive master program. We only started it in 2024, so it's running for 2 years now. Not that many students so far, which is good for you, I think, because then you can share your experience amongst each other, closer connection to the lecturers, I guess, right? And they're more approachable. So it's not a bad thing, small classes.
Maybe I can also say something about it because I have not studied in a program, but I have studied civil engineering in general at the RWTH Aachen. And my courses were a lot bigger, but I have seen the classes from the Resilient Civil Engineering program. And I think it brings you a lot of benefits to study in smaller groups because some topics which are from our chair are mostly sometimes taught in like the library at our floor. And then there you are, when you are in the smaller groups, you can directly ask the teacher and have like this more contact to the teacher. Like in the big courses that I was taking, like for example, in the beginning of my bachelor's, where we was like around 800 people or something like that. And I mean, it's more personal. And I think it's way better to learn in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also, I think you can experience in, let's say, timber structure or structural dynamics, this type of environment. In most cases, it's the most crowded one. And it's because offered by the Institute of Structural Dynamics. It's quite crowded, and some people, fail in the previous semester. So number is accumulating time to time. But you feel like I think approximately 20, maybe 25 people maximum is the optimal number. I would say more than this becomes like you are one of the you are one of in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't feel that much connection. You can't even properly follow the professor sometimes. I think it's quite nice to have around 20 maximum number of students in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add, I think.
No, that's all right. Good. I mean, yes, we do have like 15 more minutes to cover. If you have more questions, feel free to write them in the chat. If not, still, we can maybe briefly talk about the student community here in Aachen, if you like.
Yeah, sure. I actually really like Aachen because it's a really small town. Not really small, but at least you have this feeling of peacefulness, of calm that you might not find actually in bigger cities. So that's something really good. You can even go everywhere just walking. You don't need to take the bus everywhere. You can even buy a bicycle and just travel with it. It's a really, I would say, really nice city to live. And also there is Pontostrasse, this place, this kind of a street where all the people hang out on Fridays, Saturdays, and you will find a lot of restaurants. And yeah, it's really nice. I really like Aachen as a place to live.
Yeah, it has a vibrant student community.
Yes,
we always
of course.
Say. A vibrant international community also. Many different nationalities here and many student clubs, right, that you can join. And yeah, I can agree. It's a rather small city, but it keeps you more focused on your studies, okay, because you will not be distracted by, big city crowds and so forth. So yeah, good. All right. If there are no more questions, that's fine, okay? Obviously, you are well informed now. Then we can close this Q&A, okay? Yeah, I think No more questions are coming in. So, yeah, thank you very much, all of you, for
Thank you.
being
Thank you
here
too.
today, available for the Q&A session. Thank you very much. And can you just give me the point?
Yes, of course.
Sorry. Just wanted to inform you about, we need, yeah, you can see it exactly. So if you do have more questions that comes to your mind about the program itself, you can always contact Joshua, the academic advisor. The email address is stated here on the slide. Take a picture. And if you have questions about the application process for the resilient civil engineering or the admission process, you can direct the question to me. Email address again here on the slide. And just briefly some information about upcoming webinars. I'm not too sure in which stage you are at the moment here in the Zoom audience, whether you have already applied or not. If you are still in the process of deciding whether to come to Germany, whether to come to RWTH Aachen University, then one of those information sessions might be interesting for you. Just scan the QR code and you will learn more about us, the academy, and the benefits of studying with us. And last but not least, again, in case you have already applied, or if you have not, please do so now. But if you then be so lucky and get an admission offer from us, then you can already mark the February 19th in your calendar, because then we are going to talk about your next steps after admission. And on April 16th, we'll have a similar round such as this here, a live talk with more senior students from different programs that will share their experiences with the audience. Yeah, and that's it already for this program introduction of the Resilient Civil Engineering. Thank you very much for joining. Again, thank you guys very much for
Thank you too.
participating. Thank you, Joshua. And we say goodbye. All right? Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.